Hello and welcome to our back to school night, our virtual back to school night. And if you weren't able to join us in the live event, I've recorded this video so that you can get a sense of what we talked about in that live event. Notice the contact information on the screen. Best way to reach me, email timothy.j.rodman@mcpsmd.net. I would encourage you to reach out if there's any questions, concerns, anything you notice, any type of learning, aspects of learning that would be helpful for me to know about your child and their ability and ways that they learn in the classroom. As you can see through a lot of these pictures here, we're very project-based, very activity-oriented in trying to learn by doing, and I always talk about that in AP Gov class, and it is also true here in AP Microeconomics. So we have AP Micro in the fall, AP Macro in the spring, and this is what they would typically see when they come in. The objective is in the blue box across the top. Notice the homework box is the yellow or gold box off to the left. That's where they would record in their agenda book what items they have to do for tomorrow. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's some practice questions, that sort of thing. Usually some type of data in the mid-right in terms of analyzing data. So we always look at data or charts, what key graphs would be indicative of what we're seeing, the trends here. Sometimes cartoons, economic related cartoons that we could address here. The warm-up question is in the lower left-hand box, the green box you see down below. That's what they're going to talk to their tables about when they come in. And then the exit reflection is in the lower right box, and that is what they're going to talk about with their tables or with the class as a whole before they walk out of the classroom today. So this is pretty prescriptive in terms of obviously all these things change each day, but the idea is that they get familiar with the format in terms of what's being asked of them. In microeconomics, we study individual decisions that businesses make, that people, consumers make, that producers make, and that government makes, and how those things impact our economy, and then ultimately we'll look at that economy in macro. But the idea is a lot of individual decisions that are being made, how this impacts the different markets that we're looking at, how it affects supply and demand, and then a lot of analysis, looking at some skills here in terms of graphing, using models to graph out particular news stories that we see on the economy and on businesses and individual decisions that businesses or consumers might be making, consumer tastes and preference, consumer confidence, all of those things impacting a lot of the graphs that we're covering in the class. So we use a lot of that modeling to really kind of synthesize the concepts that we're trying to get students on board with. And to do that throughout the course. And we do that throughout macro as well. Notice our ultimate goal is to help them get college credit for this. They're doing a lot of work above and beyond what a typical economics class would be, and we want them to get credit for it. So notice that the micro exam is actually on Friday morning, May 6th. The macro exam, the Thursday afternoon prior to that. So macro Thursday afternoon, micro Friday morning. At least they're not on the same day, so they have a little bit of a respite. But the idea is we're going to hold review sessions, and we're going to do a lot of review in class at the end of macro in order to help get them ready for it. And they will be ready, and we have a good track record there. In terms of the course overall, I've posted the link to the slides here so you can go into more detail. We don't have enough time to do that here, but the idea is we start with basics, the basic economic concepts. We look at scarcity, we look at supply and demand. We focus on what impact a surplus or a shortage may have in terms of the overall economy, and how that impacts individual decisions. Am I willing to pay more for that roll of toilet paper because it's flying off the shelves? Am I willing to pay more for crabs because I can't get them because of the Chesapeake Bay and prices and supply is a greater issue. So we continue to see this as firms make those types of decisions in terms of how firms come about looking at things like do we hire one more worker, or do we have to lay people off? Do we open one more location? Looking at the factor and labor markets in order to address this. And then when firms and individuals can't make it in the marketplace, and we see more market failure, what can government do to step in order to address public policy issues, in order to kind of move the economy in a direction, or move individual and business decision making in a direction that is positive for the market as a whole. So we look at all of this through the course of this semester in terms of trying to address those microeconomic decisions that are being made. Some expectations, obviously monitor My MCPS Classroom. We post the homework there each day in addition to what we show in the classroom, other announcements, resources. We have a class blog we use Edmodo for to kind of tie in the concepts to what's going on out there in the real world, but would encourage them to use the announcements section of My MCPS Classroom to keep up to speed on what's going on. That includes a calendar that's there, as well as other materials and resources, overview videos and other resources that we find from external sources. There's a lot of those out there too, and really try and share those with students. What can you do to help? Encourage them to attend regularly. It's really hard to teach them when they're not in class. Also to encourage them to ask questions at lunch and learn, or before school or after school during office hours. That's always helpful. A regular homework time is also good in order to get into a routine of doing homework related to the class. A lot of times it's reading and practice questions, take-home quiz practice questions, as well as other activities like that. That is always a great way to get the time in and to do it in a routine basis. Also ask about their progress. What is working, what isn't working for them, and where can we help? That's really where encouraging them to come in during office hours or to come in at lunch and learn is really going to be helpful if they're struggling with something or just don't quite get it, doesn't quite make sense. Having study partners or study groups, study buddies, is a great aspect of the course in terms of getting people together to review for an upcoming quiz or test, to study together, to pose questions of each other. All of those things are going to help them in order to find ways to recall that information and apply it to what's going on out there in the real world. And then obviously keep the line of communication open. Email me if there's anything you see, hear, concerns you have, questions you have along the way. We are here to work together, and I hope that you will help me in that effort. A couple of clubs that I sponsor that I would encourage you to check out. Business and Investment Club actually meets on Thursdays at lunch. The Google Classroom code is on the screen. Great way for students to learn about the stock market. We have a stock market game that we participate in. We also have a blog that we use to encourage new investors to check out how to look at mutual funds and how to pick the right one, how to look at exchange traded funds and other aspects of the market. Different learning tools on things like cryptocurrencies and bonds and why people would buy them. So encourage, if your child is interested in that, definitely would encourage them to check it out. It's on Thursdays at lunch, and they'll learn a lot in that experience. The other club that I sponsor is DECA, or Future Business Leaders of America. We compete. This is kind of taking the business and investment and competing in this space. I will say, despite the pandemic, we've come off a couple of really great years where students have just really done a great job in winning some, not just regional awards, but some state awards. We've had some students that participated in the international and national competition because of the work they've done. DECA meets on Fridays at lunch, and they get together to talk about those things Business and Investment Club does, but then to compete outside of school in different competitions that we have, both within the county, within the state, as well as I mentioned, nationally, and they've done really well. Again, they meet on Fridays at lunch, and there's the Google Classroom code if they'd like to join. One last time, contact information, just to focus on, again, if there's anything, if there's a particular aspect that your child learns that I should be aware of, please email me. Please feel free to reach out. I want to know that information, and I want to know where I can help. So we're in this together. We want to help them succeed, and it takes all of us to make that happen. So I encourage you to maintain those open lines of communication. I will do the same. And again, encourage them to come in for student support if they're having any issues. Thank you so much for joining me for this back to school night video. Virtual, not as good as in person, but I do appreciate your time and look forward to communicating with you soon via email. Thank you so much, and have a great night.